Hello everyone and welcome to SIGGRAPH 2024 here at the Maxon booth. We're going to be showcasing amazing artists and how they use Maxon within their workflow to create some of the most stunning imagery you see on any screen anywhere in the world. To my left is one of our longtime advocates here in the community, the one, the only, EJ Hassenfratz. Let's give him a round of applause online, everybody. Yeah, there we go. Please gather around. We do have some seats. Get yourself nice and comfortable. EJ is going to be showcasing some new workflows that he just started picking up, working with.
Just the other day, in ZBrush.
In ZBrush. So I'll let him get started. Let's give a big round of applause for EJ Hassenfratz.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Matthias. Huge shout out to Maxon for having us here. It's awesome to have this in Denver, which is where I live. We got a lot of awesome Denver-based artists, so be sure to stay tuned. Fixing it. Wardrobe malfunction. Oh, geez.
There you go.
Okay, all right. But yeah, my name is EJ Hassenfratz. Appreciate everyone coming out here live, and hi everyone on the interwebs. I'm EJ Hassenfratz. I'm a 3D artist and educator working at School of Motion. Any School of Motion alumni or anyone in the house? Okay, awesome. Yeah, nice. All right. And I'm also an amateur toy artist. As you can see, I don't know if you can see online, but I got all these little 3D prints. So if you're here on the show floor, if you have any questions, when you ask a question, you get a free pug sculpt. And then I got some stickers here too. But I've been getting really into 3D printing, making my own little toys and characters and stuff, especially my little pug Gus. And really been getting into ZBrush lately too, and getting all these sculpting workflows. So, I'm a little bit about my background. I've been, like Matthias said, I've been teaching Cinema 4D for a very long time, and I'm just so grateful to be part of the Maxon family. I know a lot of my really good friends I've met throughout doing all these events like this. I've been able to go to Japan. I'm actually going to Japan in October, so it kind of influenced the presentation I'm going to do today. You can see right down here, I made my first little plushie character just last year. But yeah, I've been able to, be able to speak all across the world, and just super thankful for that. And also have a YouTube channel and my Instagram. If you have any questions about literally anything, whether that's today or tomorrow or in the future, feel free to always reach out. I'm always available to help not only Cinema 4D, but also ZBrush, because that's going to be my presentation today, is the power of Kawaii and creating irresistibly cute characters in ZBrush. So I literally just started work. I've been sculpting for a while using different apps, but I finally got into ZBrush and really started committing to learning it about 3 weeks ago. So it was very daunting for me, and I finally pushed through and had all these aha moments. So I know a lot, like sculpting in general is very daunting. So my aim today is to make sculpting, especially in ZBrush, less intimidating and more approachable. And what better way to do it than make a little kawaii character? So actually, before I get into that, I forgot to do the ceremonial playing of the demo reel, just to give you all a little taste of the type of work that I do. There we go. Yo, good to see you. And all this stuff made in Cinema 4D too. Yeah, pump up the jams. Louder.
So many things to do, mas não sei se vou conseguir. I need some time for me, quero encontrar o meu eu. Vou viajar, yeah, vou viajar, chegar mais pra longe.
Thank you very much. Okay, so back to presentation. So before I get into my presentation, I just want to give a little bit of background on like just character design and what makes a kawaii character. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, kawaii is basically just cute in Japanese. And its origins go all the way back to like the 50s and 60s with Astro Boy. Anyone watch Astro Boy? Like that, I love Mega Man. Like Astro Boy was the OG Mega Man. The story's the same, which is actually a sad story if you look into Astro Boy. But this is probably one of the most popular mangas and animes ever. And it kind of kicked off the whole kawaii style. And then one of the biggest kawaii characters is Hello Kitty, which, fun fact, is actually a British girl, not a cat. She lives outside of London, and so a little crazy. And so she has no mouth. And why they designed her with no mouth is because they want the viewer to kind of inject their own feelings and personality into Hello Kitty. And so it just kicked off this whole wave of kawaii characters and giant head, oversized head, cutesy little kind of look. There's like all these characters in this universe as well. And so Hello Kitty's been around since the 70s. She's actually, I think she just turned like 50 this year, which is kind of crazy. And it just kicked off this massive movement. And why kind of kawaii is so popular, not in just Japanese culture and anime and all that stuff, but also kind of spills over into, you know, America and just pop culture. And like the Michelin Man like got very cutesy-ified, and it's like one of the only tire brands that has this kind of cool, like cute mascot. And you know, that gives you an emotional connection with that brand. Like you have a character, you have a mascot, so your brand or your corporation's more relatable to the viewers. Like Baby Yoda. There's a reason why Mandalorian has Baby Yoda. Would you care about Mandalorian? Would you even watch it without Baby Yoda? I don't think I would. I'm there for Baby Yoda, and that's about it. But yeah, that's not by BB-8 even. They always have the cute robots. And why that is because if you see something kind of cute, you can kind of calm yourself. It makes you happy, makes you smile. Kawaii can also, you know, narrow your focus and even theorize to have healing power as well. So anyone use Duolingo? Even if you don't use Duolingo, you know who their mascot is. This little cute duo mascot. I've been learning Japanese lately because, like I said, I have a trip in Japan in October, so I've been boning up on my knowledge and been seeing this Duolingo guy has been, he's been really harping me on the right there. He's been really threatening me. But yeah, so kawaii and pop culture. If I got the chance to go to Korea, Korea has these little characters called Kakao Friends, and they have this. It's almost like their version of AT&T. It's like their like social messaging app, and they have all these little characters that you can use as emojis in the app. And these characters are so popular that they're bigger than Mickey Mouse in Korea. So like this is like a communications brand using these little characters to relate, like to connect with their audience. They even have like entire stores with like individual merchandise and all that kind of stuff. And each of the characters are designed to have different personalities. So depending on your personality, you might connect with one of these characters more than others. So why does kawaii work? Well, there's this thing called babyface bias, which is if you design a character that has big eyes, big forehead, basically looks like a child, we are genetically programmed to care about a baby or a tiny like young animal. They're super cute to us for us to respond and like protect it. And so people kind of hijack our emotional responses to anything that looks baby-like and has that baby face to make us like connect and like that kind of thing. So look at all of these different characters, oversized heads, giant eyes. These are all the cutest, most popular characters that we all know and love, and they all have this baby face bias. So you can even see the Duolingo logo through the years. Like the kawaii has intensified since 2011, and you can just see how like the latest version is just way more relatable, looks a lot more cute, looks like the best version. And kawaii is even used in Japanese culture for like, this is a road sign, like a construction sign, and then this is also a sign. So they even have like kawaii little characters because it's like if it's telling you instructions or saying danger, don't do this, you're more apt to follow along with that instruction or that rule because of that little character making you relate to, you know, what's going on and what's being asked for you to do. So what are the keys to kawaii? Well, it's all about character design, and one of the big pillars of character design is shape language. And what shape language is you have a emotional response based on the type of shape that you see and the type of shape that a character is made up of. So here you can see the three different types of shapes. There's sphere, square, and triangle. And you kind of see the properties, the emotional properties, and you feel differently about each of these different types of characters. So like Spiky Kirby looks very evil looking, but you know, so the soft roundish versions are pretty much what you'll see in a lot of kawaii design, is because when we see circular shape language, we think soft, squishy, harmless, approachable. And another aspect of that is just the eye nose triangle. What the eye nose triangle is you measure the distance between the eyes and the nose, and the smaller that triangle shape connecting those lines, the younger that character looks. The bigger that eye nose triangle, the bigger that and longer, the older the character looks. So here you can see in Totoro, 3 different characters, all different extending like triangles, and you can see the oldest character on the right has the longest eye nose triangle. This is also why all Disney princesses have the same exact look. They got big eyes, small eye nose triangle, super cutesy looking, because it's just a formula. It works for Disney, so what, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Another thing is body proportions. Here you can see same character, it's both Goku, one's the younger version, and how do you portray a younger version? Giant head relation to the rest of the body, just like a newborn child would have a giant head compared to the rest of the body. Big eyes compared to the rest of the head, big ears, big forehead. So that's kind of like the secret of kawaii, and you can even see this, like Pokemon is a great study in character design. You can see the kawaii harmless version, a lot of round shape language, and then as they evolve and get stronger, the shape language completely changes to more spiky or blocky. And here's a little, another term for this is chibi character, which just means like, just like kind of like childlike. And so here you can see like Majin Buu on the left, the adult version. This one I sculpted on the right, which it just made cuter because you made the head bigger in relation to the size of the body. Here's a bunch of mascots in Japan. Like mascots are a huge thing. They actually stopped, they banned it because it just got out of control. Like every single city in Japan made their own mascot, and they're like, okay, we gotta stop this. But one of the things I would recommend you do, like when you get into sculpting, you're not going to learn it overnight, right? Think about any software you've learned, like it takes perseverance, it takes practice. And one of the things that I did over time to learn sculpting is every single night I just sit on my iPad and just start sculpting and learning and getting progressively better. And even me, like trying to take the kawaii aspect and applying it to like my own little pug character design that I have here, just kind of like iterated through a lot and finally settled upon this character design here that is pretty kawaii looking. So let's talk about creating your own kawaii character. I highly recommend that you sketch things out as reference, because it's really hard to jump into 3D and just start like, you know, I can make anything, and you get overwhelmed because you have so many options. It's always helpful to narrow your focus. So sketch something, it's a good reference point that you can use too. And here you can even see like the difference of the eye nose triangle, the size of the eyes. Like this panda character looks younger, but not as cute. So I maximized the cuteness by making the eyes bigger. And I'm going to show you how we can get from this sketch to this nice little sculpted 3D character. Actually 3D printed it out. So after my presentation, you can come up and see what that looks like. So let's go and let's jump into ZBrush, because what better way to learn ZBrush than to use kawaii that's supposed to calm us and make us feel good. Like if you want to start learning an application, you want to figure out like what are those things that you like? Like what's the thing that you like that you would want to make that would help you learn the app? And for me, it's a cutesy character. It's not some crazy detailed World of Warcraft character. So you figure out what you like, because it's going to make you want to learn the thing even more. So what I'm going to do is when you open up ZBrush for the first time, you're going to have an empty project. But one thing you can do is just start out with a sphere. So this is your light box. And your light box is going to be open. It's basically, you can go and you can open a file, you can get any tool, you can open up previous projects, but there's all these base meshes that you can begin with. And if you think about sculpting in real life, you're going to start out with a ball of clay, right? So let's get our ball of clay, which will be this Dynamesh sphere. There's a bunch of different Dynamesh spheres depending on like how many subdivisions there are, but we'll start out with this 64 subdivided one. Will not save changes. And once you do this, you're just going to start out with your default sphere. I have symmetry on right from the get-go. You can turn it on or off by hitting X. So you can see the symmetry turning on and off. And you can just start kind of clicking and dragging, and that's using your standard brush. I'm going to go and undo that. One of the cool things is undo is right up here. And you can either, Command or Control Z or Control Shift Z to redo, or you can just slide up here and go and redo and undo. And so right now I have my standard brush chosen. This is the type of stroke that I'm using here. This is the clay. This is the kind of material that's it's actually not currently applied, but that's the material area. And here in this subtool is where you can see that sphere we just made. So if you think of Cinema 4D, this is kind of like your object manager, and subtools, this was a weird concept for me. Their name for objects or just meshes are subtools, okay? So but just think of it as an object that encases a mesh or multiple meshes, okay? So I can go here, I can rename this by going right into here, clicking rename, and I can say, okay, this is gonna be our head. And so now we need to talk about navigation. In Cinema 4D, it's like 1, 2, 3. It is not 1, 2, 3 in ZBrush. So you can you can just click and drag outside of your mesh. Click and drag, that is your kind of orbit. And if you Alt and drag, that is your pan. And if you Alt, drag, and then release Alt, that is your zoom. Now that's a little bit of a weird navigation for me, so there's an alternative kind of navigation here. And that is using your right click. So if I right click and drag, that's your orbit. If I control click and drag, or control right click and drag, that's your zoom. And if I if I alt and right click, that is your pan. So I like to use the right click method because now I can zoom over a mesh and zoom it right where my cursor is. The other version, which is the alt, click and drag, you can only zoom in outside here, and that's a little bit awkward for me. Now, if you ever need to figure out what's the front side of your object, there's this little head gizmo up here, which basically can snap to all these different views. You can go up, above, down, below. But let's actually start like creating our little, like the head of our little panda. So if you want to go, let's go back and see what that looks like. So it's got a little bit of a like big bulbous head there. So let's go and let's start on that. And you can see we got our standard brush here. You can get to the brushes. You can see there's so many brushes. Just like Cinema 4D, you don't need to know what every single button does to be successful in Cinema 4D. It's the same exact thing in ZBrush. I probably have used, and I've talked to many like pro ZBrush users, they maybe use 4 brushes that are their go-to, and then there's like some specialty brushes that, depending on what you're doing, if you're making a hamburger, like Patrick 4D, there's probably like a little hamburgery kind of brush that you want to use. Or if you're doing cloth, there's a bunch of cloth brushes. But I'm going to tell you that you can do a lot by just learning like 4 or 5 brushes, knowing what they do, and just using them as you go. But one of the main brushes is the Move brush. And so you can either go and click on this menu here to get your brushes, or you can hit B. And so B will bring up that same menu, but you don't have to go over to this menu here. So you can be wherever you're at, hit B, and then there's a shortcut for, you can see all these different letters here. So if I go to M, I know the brush is called Move brush, so I can either click the M or I can just hit M, and that will kind of just filter out all the brushes that begin with M. And then V is the Move brush. So if I wanted to do that again, I can hit B to bring up the tools, M to filter out to just the M brushes, and then from there I can see V is the move brush, so I'll go and do that. And you just memorize that, or go into this and just hit M because you know that it's a move brush, and we'll go into here. And so we got our move brush, and so what the move brush does, again, I have symmetry on, which is X, and I can just start kind of sculpting this. Now, one of the things I like to do is if you go to transform, you can actually activate symmetry in multiple dimensions here. So when I'm sculpting a head, I also want to sculpt the back side of the head at the same time. So I'm going to activate Z. And so now you can see as I'm sculpting in the front, it's sculpting in the back. It's mirroring there. So if I go to my main view here, you can also use like an isometric perspective, which I like to work in. If you click right here, that's your dynamic perspective with a little bit of a, distortion, or you can just remove the distortion and get to isometric view, which I like to work in isometric view. So here you can have a flat on kind of view. You can also see you have a view of your silhouette. So if you're posing characters and you know about making attractive silhouettes, that's a really handy view for you as well. So I'm just going to start sculpting this, and I know that for Kawaii design, that forehead's got to be pretty big. And so we're just going to adjust this. This is looking kind of like a head shape. Another thing is that if you hold Shift and click and drag, you're going to snap to these different views, which is kind of handy. So now I'm in my side view. And so this is the front of my head right here on the left. And so now I can start to kind of adjust things here and just kind of sculpt. Now, one handy modifier when you have your brush tool active is Shift. And if you hold down Shift, this turns into a smooth brush. As you can see, that changed when I hold Shift key down. And so when I hold Shift and start to drag, I'm going to smooth things out. Now, one beginner tip for you, and it's a thing that beginners always do when they start sculpting, is they always have lumpy meshes. And let me show you an example of that. So if I want to change the brush size, I got a pretty giant brush here. You can change the brush size by going here and sliding this in or out. And then you can see the focus shift, which is just like in Photoshop, your brush hardness or softness. So you can see I can adjust this here. But you can also bring this up by holding just hitting the spacebar or holding the spacebar down. And this is the same options here. So I can adjust this here, or if I hit S, that just brings up the size, the draw size. So what a lot of people will do when they first start sculpting is they'll be like, okay, I'm going to sculpt like this. And their brush is way too small for what they're doing, and it gets super lumpy, and you'll be like, all right, well, let me smooth that out, holding Shift key down, and it's still lumpy. So what I recommend you do is use a big brush size and be very gentle and just kind of touch and kind of lightly mess up the mesh or massage the mesh. And so again, we have these undo levels here. I can go all the way back to before I started making all those lumps. Hold down the spacebar key, get my brush draw size pretty big, and again, just start sculpting. Again, big brush strokes. It's kind of like you're doing a painting. You're getting those big broad strokes, and then you add the details later. Do not add the details right away. You want to do that when everything's blocked out. And so you definitely want to do a character block out and get all your proportions and everything right. So again, if I look at my reference here, you see the stubby arms and legs and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the torso and then just block out the torso, the arms, and the legs there. So we'll go back into ZBrush here. And so let's just say okay, I'm happy with the way this is looking. If you want to go to your gizmo and scale and move and all that kind of stuff, you can go to this menu here, or you can just hit W, and that will bring up your gizmo that, unlike Cinema 4D's gizmo where you have if you hit ERT, those are your scale, move, and rotation. Here we have a gizmo that has all of those combined. So we got a rotation here, which if you hold the Shift key down, that's going to snap to degrees of 5. And I'm just going to go and undo that. We also have a scale, which are these little blocks here. So if I scale this, you can see I'm scaling in the Z. And I can also scale just overall. If I want to scale overall, that's this middle yellow square there. I can just scale that uniformly. And then if I want to move this, I can use these arrows. And if I want to move these in a 2D plane, I can hover over these little angle things there and move that around like that. So that's your rotational gizmo, or that's your just translate gizmo where you can adjust the size and rotation and stuff. And so what I'm actually going to do is I renamed this head, this subtool. I'm just going to go and I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to rename it to, where's rename? Rename to torso. And I got my move tool selected, and I'm just going to move this down. And so you can see that there, and I'm just going to scale this down as well. And this will just, again, Kawaii design, we have a big head, tiny torso, and I'm just going to block this out. And so to get back to my brush tool, I can go to draw, or I can hit Q, and that will bring my brush tool back, and I can start sculpting this as well. And the one thing you'll notice is that when you create a new subtool, everything kind of resets. So you'll notice that my transform, the Z wasn't really, was the Z active? Oh, I guess the Z was still active, so that actually didn't reset. But I will want to turn off that Z, and so I can go in here and just kind of adjust that. And this will kind of be the belly. Hold the shift key down and kind of smooth things out. Now, if you want to see like your mesh, you can hit Shift F or click this button right here, and you can see your all your subdivisions and stuff like that. Now, one of the things I recommend you do is actually remesh this down to a lower subdivision level. And so it's kind of like if you've used the your volume mesher, volume builder kind of stuff. Depending on the voxel size, you can have either high fidelity, a lot of subdivisions, or low fidelity. You can do that kind of thing in ZBrush as well. So here I have all these spheres. I'm going to lower the fidelity here so I can smooth this out a little bit more, because the more subdivisions you have, the more you might kind of make things lumpy, and it's harder to smooth things out. So I'm just going to go down to geometry, and here I have Dynamesh active, and this is basically just like your volume mesher where you can change the resolution. So I can bring this down, and then you can hit Dynamesh, and actually that's not going to work until I kind of click that. And let's go into Dynamesh, turn that on. You can see how that kind of lowered the subdivisions there. I can bring down the resolution even more and click that, or you can control click and that will remesh it that way. So control click is like your mask, but if you don't hover over your mesh and you click and drag, that will do the Dynamesh right there for you. So if I up this, and click and drag, sometimes you have to click your mesh first and then click and drag, and you'll see that'll Dynamesh there. So I'm going to lower this, and you can see that's much lower. And what this allows you to do is really smooth this out, and this is very forgiving now. So, all right, we got our little kind of torso here. And again, you always want to look from all angles, because sometimes you can make something look in one angle and it looks like complete hot garbage in the other view. So you want to make sure you look at all your views. We'll smooth that out. And I'll use the W key to get my move tool and just kind of move that in place, maybe scale a little bit. Go back to Q, and that's our move brush again, or all our brushes. And so this whole entire time, we've just been using the move brush. We're just blocking shapes out here. Let's actually go and let's go back to our subtool menu. So right here is where we get our subtools again. And what I'm going to do now is just duplicate the torso, and this will be our ear. So I'm going to rename this. Always useful to rename your object. So ear, and then I'm just going to hit E, and I'm just going to move this actually up, and you'll see that our other object is not visible anymore. And you can see we have these eyeballs. These are kind of like your visibility checkboxes. So if I just turn that on, you can see there's my torso back again. And so I'm just going to move this into place and rotate this, scale this down. Oops. And now you'll see that I have symmetry on, and when I move this mesh, it's stretching it. So when you're moving geometry, what you don't want to do is actually have symmetry on. So I'm going to hit X to deactivate symmetry, then move this up, then scale this. So it's going to like tear or anything like that. But I do need to create the other symmetrical side of the ear, right? So how do I do that? Well, what you can do is you can go up to to Z plugin. It's a little bit weird, and you go to, so we're working with subtools, right? If we go to our subtool master, this is where we have the mirroring option. So if I hit mirror, it's going to say, okay, which mirror option do you want? Do you want it to merge in the same object, or do you want to make a new object? I'll just merge in the same subtool or same object, and then this is the axis that you choose. And so I'm just going to hit OK, and now you can see, okay, now I have my symmetrical side, but when I move this is moving it as a whole. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to turn back on symmetry with X, and so now you can see, now I'm mirroring and using symmetry to place and kind of refocus the mesh here. And so those are my ears. I'll just kind of squish this down a little bit. And now you could, if you wanted to, go in here and like flatten the front side, and so I can go and hit B again, and one of the tools is flatten, so I can go and hit F, and there's my flatten brush, and so now I can just flatten, whoops, and that's pretty strong, so I can bring down the intensity of that brush. I can also adjust the scale by, again, holding down the space bar, just making this a little smaller, and then just lightly touching, and you can see, okay, I kind of smooth that, or flatten that out a bit, and I'm going to hit B again, and this will bring up all the kind of tools that I used before. So you can see the move tool is still there, so I can use that move tool and kind of just adjust things here and smooth, and there we go. I got my ears, and so there we go. Now what we can do at this point is I need some arms and legs. So what I'm going to do is go and I'm going to add a new object, and I'm going to add a cylinder, because just like Cinema 4D, we have all these basic primitive shapes that we can use. So it's a little bit weird, but it's called append to add a new object. So if I hit append, that's going to bring up all the different kind of primitive meshes you can bring in. So again, a lot like Cinema 4D, we got your torus, we got like a cone, a gear, Z-spheres, which is super fun. But we're going to grab just a cylinder, and so you're going to see it's actually right here. So I'm going to make sure I have that selected. So to select a different subtool, you can either come over here and select it, or you can hit Alt and tap, and that will select your object. So Alt tap will select whatever object you want. And so I'm going to go and move this over here, and we'll rotate this like so. Again, holding the Shift key down to constrain to increments of 5 degrees, and we'll scale this down, and you can see that the subdivisions are fairly low here, and you can see that cap is kind of like the same cylinder that you'd have in Cinema 4D, and this kind of subdivision is fine for like hard surface modeling, but for kind of blobby meshes, we want to remesh this to have more evenly spaced subdivisions, just like our mesh right here. So to do that, we're going to click on this object, and we're going to go down, and we want to change the geometry of it. So we're going to go and click and drag on this menu here, go to geometry, and we're going to turn on that Dynamesh again, which again is almost like that volume mesher. So I'm going to turn that on, and you can immediately see that now we have this evenly subdivided mesh, but it's pretty dense for what we need. So again, I'm going to move the resolution down. Let's maybe go 32, and I'm going to click and drag. And again, sometimes you need to hit Q and kind of just lightly touch that to make it go. And so now you can see we have a much lighter mesh, and I can hold the Shift key down and make this into like a little nub. But one really cool thing that you can do is, like, if I want to overall smooth this entire object out without holding Shift and smoothing this out just like this, because sometimes that could be an uneven smooth, there's actually like a whole object smooth you can do, and that is in this deformation tab here. And so deformation has a lot of different things, kind of like deformers in Cinema 4D. You have skew, bend, stuff like that. But the one thing I want to use is this polish. And this polish is basically going to, like, it's like a smooth for the entire object. And so I'm just clicking and dragging this over. You see this is nice and smooth. And I can just hit E to get my move tool again. And there I got one arm. Now we're going to go and mirror this. So we'll go to Z plugin, subtool master, mirror, and hit OK. And so there's my other arm. And again, hit X to get that symmetry, and I can kind of move things in place like so. And then I will go to my subtool list to get back to my objects. Let's rename this to arms. And then I can duplicate the arms and make these into legs. So rename these legs. And then I could just move this down. And so again, just blocking out the character, not adding detail to anything just yet. I just want to make sure like my silhouette looks good. So this looks like a little teddy bear at the moment, but you can see what's going on there. If you want to solo your object at any point, you can go over here and click solo. And so you can see, okay, let's make this a little shorter. And maybe we'll go and go to that deformation again and polish to smooth this out a little bit, or hit Q and just smooth this out with smooth brush. And we can also use move and just kind of adjust this if we want, like so. And so we'll unsolo, and you can see there is kind of our little boy here. So what if we want to flatten out the feet here? What we're going to do is use Control and Shift, and you can see these options over here are changing. So Control Shift allows us to kind of select something and either solo it, or you can actually cut it. So if you hold Shift, Control, you can go to rectangle, or actually select, and you can change, instead of from a selection, you can actually go and use a knife tool. So just like a knife tool in like Illustrator or anything like that, we're gonna go and we're gonna get the knife, knife curve, and we're gonna click and drag, holding the Shift and Control key down, and you can see that gradation is facing upwards. So that means it's actually gonna cut everything above it, and we actually wanna do the opposite. So we're gonna go over here, we're gonna hold the spacebar down and move this over, and now that gradation is below. And so now if I go and I just release all those keys, you can see I just trimmed off the bottom. And so now what I can do is I can remesh all of this by going into Geometry and Dynamesh, and we can smooth this out by hitting Q and just holding the Shift key down and just smoothing that out. And you can see that's a different color right there, but that just means it's like a different poly group. And so what we can do is go to polygroups and actually just say like auto group this. Don't have the bottom of the object be a separate group, but group these two legs as two different two different groups. So if we need to split them later, we can. So you can see they're slightly different colors. And so there we go. At this point, what we can do is start doing some kind of details. So let me just go to, or actually no, let's first block out some of the materials here first as well. So the light box turned up again. If you hit the comma key, that will show or hide your light box there. So I'm going to go and say, okay, let me alt click on the head here. Let's turn off the line there, and let's add a different color. So maybe we'll make this a little bit more white, and actually the matte cap gray. Let's change this material to, let's go with skin shade. So that's a nice kind of shade, and you can see that it's applying to everything, but this isn't actually applied to anything just yet. So if I go and choose white, this isn't going to be applied until I go to color and fill object. And now you can see if I click on this other object here, like the ears, let's make this black. And so you'll see that's actually changing the color of all these other objects, but these objects are just changing because they don't yet have a material, so they're just changing using this kind of preview here. So I'm going to go color and fill object, and then for the arms, same thing, color, fill object. And so now, if I select all these other objects here, let me go and make the belly white, or if I want to sample a color, I can click and drag, and you see that little color picker, you'll see that it will sample whatever color that I hovered over, and we'll go and say fill object there. So now we just have a basic blocking of the shapes, and why not, let's make a nose real quick. So I'll go and alt click to select the head, and we'll go to subtool, and we'll just duplicate. We'll rename this nose. We're literally just gonna hit W and just move this out, scale this down. And again, I have symmetry on, so I'm gonna turn that off. So if I wanted this to be a koala, I could just make a big old schnoz like that, but we'll make a nice little nose like so. And again, if I hit Shift F, you can see the subdivisions. That's very dense for a subdivision. So again, what I can do is just remesh this. Geometry, Dynamesh, I'm just gonna move this down to like 16, And you can see, okay, well, maybe that's a little bit too much. And do that a little bit higher, maybe a little bit higher. And there you go. So that's a little bit better. And we'll use the smooth. And you can see with that lower poly object, it's way easier to smooth. And I'll turn on symmetry, hit S to get the size back, and just kind of, you know, make it a little bit more like this, okay? And there's my nose. And what we can do at this point is, again, we're just in blocking out mode. So I can make some eyes. So let's just go and let's add subtool, append, and we'll grab a sphere 3D, and we'll rename this to eyes. And we'll just move this over, move this into place, shrink this down. And so again, this is just simple shapes. And I think simple shapes and simple characters are a great way to like get your feet wet, get your C legs or your Z legs, I guess. I just made that up right now, to get into cinema or into ZBrush. And so we got one eye again. We know where the mirror is, so we'll mirror that, hit OK, and we got our eyes. So we're kind of blocking everything out. You can see our nose kind of got hidden. So if you want to just make sure everything is unhidden, just hit Control Shift and click, and that'll automatically unhide everything. So I got the legs there. Let's actually click and drag to pick that black shade, fill object, and now kind of got, let's go white for the eyes, color, fill object. And so now you can see we got basically a block out of our object. So let me go, and I'm going to open up a file that has the block out that is much better. I'll do no. And so now once you got your block out, you got all your basic stuff kind of handled. And I even added like a little tail there. Now is when you can kind of start adding details. So here's my eyes. If I hide them, what I want to do is create little, let's hide the eyes here. I want to create like a little indent here for the eyes, little eye sockets. So let's go and do that real quick, and we're going to introduce a new brush. So we've been using move the entire time. Let's go to our brush menu by hitting B. And one of the objects, or one of the brushes that's great for just building up or subtracting from a mesh is called the clay build-up tool. So I know the name of the brush, so it's C for clay. So if I hit C, you can see, okay, where's clay build-up? Clay build-up, there it is. The shortcut key for that is B. So if I want to do that from scratch, it's B, C for clay build-up, or for just clay, or narrowing the focus of all the brushes to anything that starts with the letter C, and then B. So CB, BCB. And here I can start like clicking, and you can see I'm building up this mesh here. But I actually want to subtract. So if you want to subtract, that's holding the Alt key down. You can see there's a little negative sign there, and this will allow you to subtract from this mesh. Now, depending on how highly subdivided your mesh is, depends on how kind of destructive this brush can be. So if I move this, scale this down a little bit, and hit Alt, I'm just gonna like kind of go around. If you want to, kind of like in Procreate, there's like a lazy brush to help smooth out your strokes, and that's much easier, especially with an unsteady hand like myself. You can go to Stroke, go to Lazy Mouse, and I'm going to increase the Lazy Smooth, and this is basically like smoothing out your brush strokes. So I'm just going to deal with this Lazy Smooth right here, and now you can see we got that little lag, and I'm going to go in here and just kind of make a little kind of hole. It's a little bit too much. We'll go in here, and then kind of smooth this out. And so if I go and I solo just the head, you can see what kind of mess we have behind there. So I'm just going to smooth that out real quick and kind of fill in here. And I can change that focal shift to smooth it out a little bit more. So smooth. And again, the lower the subdivision, the easier it is to smooth out this stuff. So again, if I was smart, I would have used probably a smaller or lighter subdivided mesh here. So let's actually do that. So let's go And I'll show you a nice little workflow for this. So geometry, Dynamesh, yes. And you can see that we just got lower poly. And let's actually undo that. Let's delete higher. Okay, so here we have a pretty low subdivided mesh. Let's get even lower here. Let's go to like a resolution of 24. We got to turn it on. So Dynamesh wasn't turned on, so if you don't have that button active, it's not going to work. So pro tip right there. So we're just going to adjust this, remesh, and there we go. And so now we can smooth this out a lot better. And now if we want to subdivide from here to add in more fine detail, because if I'm subtracting from this, so I still got my clay buildup here, and if I hit Alt, this is pretty heavy-handed, right? But this is fine for just blocking things out. But if I unsolo this, I basically just want like a nice crease around the eye. So I'm just going to build this back up again. Kind of like that. You can make them look angry by having a nice little, eyebrow like that. I can build up the nose a little bit and smooth that out. And actually it's better to have a bigger brush for these kinds of things and maybe bring down the strength of that actual brush. And smooth these kind of things out. And we can go and switch to the move tool really easy by holding the B key. And because we had the move brush already selected, I can go to that real quick and start moving these kind of things and start adjusting. And so if I want to then add even more detail, like maybe a crease on the nose, I can't really get that kind of fidelity with this light mesh here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to this geometry area here, and I can subdivide this. So it's basically like a live subdivision surface generator object in Cinema 4D. If I hit this, you can see that immediately it's not going to show up. But if I kind of toggle this on and off, you can see we just subdivided the mesh. And now what we can do is sculpt on this higher mesh here. And so I actually want to like make a nice little crease. And now you could get the crease brush, or there's a very good brush that is great for high quality creases, which is called the Damien Standard Brush. So if I hit B and then D for that Damien Standard, and then if I go right here, there it is, so S, or I can just click that. And basically what this is a very nice crease brush. So if I go in and I hit the S key and just bring this brush size a little bit lower and I crease, and see, okay, now that's looking pretty good. And kind of smooth that out. We got a nice little crease going on there. And if you hit the Alt key, you can actually get a nice little raised up wrinkle. So it's always fun to kind of play around with these kind of tools and get whatever nice details you want. And so up until this point, I've kind of just showed a couple brushes. We got the move, smooth, flatten, clay buildup, and the Damien Standard, and that's like pretty much the only brushes I kind of use for this kind of setup. So for the for the arms here, if I want like little paw pads and stuff like that, what I did was actually made creases on the arm. So if I hit Alt and click, I can have this object selected. You can see I have the subdivision levels here already. And the nice thing is you can go up or down on those subdivisions levels, because if I want to like make big changes, I can go and adjust this. Well, let's turn on symmetry. And let me actually turn on symmetry in the Z here. So transform, symmetry, and then in the X and Z. And so now I can make this a little bit wider. And so I can smooth this out and then go up the subdivision level, because I subdivided this twice. And then I can go back into my Damien Standard brush by hitting B. And then let's make some nice little creases here, like so. And so here we got a little crease for like my paws. And then I can use that clay buildup again, so B. And then I still have that clay buildup in my top quick menu. And I can just start kind of going in here. Again, just light touches. And smooth will save a lot of your, save your butt a lot here. So here we got, just a few brush strokes. I got like a little palm kind of going here, and then I can use the move tool again and increase that size, and I can go down that subdivision level and just kind of move this up like so, and then subdivide that back again to get back that detail. You can kind of see if I try to smooth the higher subdivision level, it's a lot harder to smooth out. So it's kind of like a little give and take, like smooth this out and then maybe come back in here and crease that again. That's a little too big of a crease, but kind of go in there, and it's a little bit of like give and take to kind of build up your form and stuff like that. Now, got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to kind of go pretty fast here for the rest, but I just want to show one other trick, and that's for the paw pads on like the feet. And what I'm going to do is you can either go and get just like a paintbrush and start painting directly on the mesh. So I'm going to do that by hitting B, and I said paintbrush, so let's hit P, and that will filter out all the brushes that start with P, and the paintbrush is right here. And what this allows you to do, again, if I hit Shift F, and let's make sure I actually have the object I want selected, so I'm going to hit Alt and click, and now hit Shift F, and you can see the subdivision level. So how painting works is it's basically like a vertex paint. If you've ever done vertex painting in Cinema 4D, if I click on here, you can see that that's a very pixelated kind of drawing or painting there. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm actually going to go and subdivide this a whole bunch of times. And now you can see that's a lot more detail there. So I can paint the paw pads on here like so, and you can select the color you want by going right here. And so if I want pink paws, I'll go in here and select pink, and let me actually get out of my subdivision and actually see how I'm painting. And because I have that higher subdivision level, this is a much smoother paint, but I suck at drawing, so let's not do that. We're gonna do another route here. So if I hold down Control, this is basically your mask pen. And so I can mask things out, and if I go and if I hit Control and click, that's actually gonna smooth it out, and if I hold Control or Alt, that's gonna sharpen it. And then if I just go and click outside of the mesh and click and drag, it's going to clear your mask. And so what I basically want to do is I can hold the Control key down and say, you know what, let's actually just get some spheres in here. So if I click and drag, you see it's a smooth kind of circle. So let me go to the focal shift, bring that down and make this a hard brush. And so if I hit Shift again or Control again and click, let's see, why is that? Okay, so I'm holding the Control key down and then bringing that focal shift down. And there we go. So now we have a crisp paw. So now we got this nice, perfect circles. Oops. And we'll go in here, and then I'll click to blur that a little bit. And then if you want to invert it, I'm going to Control click outside the mesh to invert that. And now with this selected, I can do a lot of cool things. And one of the coolest things I like to do is in this deformation area here. So before I showed you how to do that overall polish, which is that overall kind of smoothing. But right down here, we have this inflate. And there's two different kinds. So let me actually just rotate this right here. And so I want those nice little paw pads, right? So I'm going to go and I'm going to inflate. And you can see this is just inflating those objects. Now, let's contrast that to the inflate balloon. And you can see that it's a little bit more of like a different roundness there. So this is really cool, even like for entire objects. Like if I want to click on the arm here, whoops. And if you ever get like lost and you're like, oh, I'm all upside down, you can just click here on the head. And then if you want to frame up your view, just hit F. And that'll frame up whatever you have selected, and I can just zoom out. So if I wanted to make the overall arms thicker, what I could do is I alt click that object, and I'm going to go inflate, and I can make this much thicker. And you see how that kind of closes the gap between the paws, and I can kind of smooth that out a little bit. So I love using the inflate balloon. Maybe it's a little bit too thick. We can go in the negative amount. Whoops, not that negative, but go negative and kind of, you can smooth that kind of stuff out too, really easily. But inflate is super cool, or thicken. It's kind of like the thicken generator object in Cinema 4D. And so we got this nice little paw pad here. I'm going to alt click to just kind of smooth that out. And I'm just going to remove that. Actually, let me undo that. And let me invert. And I'm actually going to color the rest of the object to that panda black color. So fill object, and then click, and then make this pink, and fill. And so now you can see, when I remove my mask, I got this nice little paw print. And so this is great because this will actually all translate over to Cinema 4D. And I actually have a second presentation on Thursday, which I'll show more of how to build this out, how to paint on your model, than how to bring it into Cinema 4D. So it's super easy. If you want to bring this into Cinema 4D as it is, it's not done yet. Just go to this Go Z up here, and actually you want to click all, and it'll bring all of the objects in here, and we'll say continue. And a version of Cinema 4D was found, blah, blah, blah. We'll say, yes, let's do that. Nope, we don't want that. Nope, we don't want that. Photoshop, nope. So yeah, we just want Cinema 4D. And this should, voila, open Cinema 4D here. Wait for it. You can see we got all these different subtools. Whoops, there we go. Got all those different subtools, and now I have to rewire my brain to the shortcut keys in Cinema. Okay, okay. And I think it... But you can see how it brought in all of my different objects, and I think this froze because it couldn't handle the awesomeness. There we go. There we go. And you can see if I click on... Oops. Man, I'm like, my shortcut keys, my brain. Okay. We're just going to do this at an angle. Why not? Let's go up to View, Frame Default. There we go. So we got our objects, and remember I had that paw paint? You can see that's right there, and you can see my legs. Where are my legs? Right here. And so that's automatically applied as a redshift material, because that's all vertex paint. So if I go to my material manager here, and you can see vertex attribute is the actual redshift node that you want to use to translate this poly paint vertex color node, and you just basically drag this into here, but Redshift already does it for you automatically. And when you render this, so we go to Redshift, start IPR, you can see that poly paint, it's very blocky because this is unsubdivided, but you can see how you can get all your like vertex paint over here into Cinema 4D and make it lit and rendered very nice. But yeah, that is it for me of part one of sculpting in ZBrush, making a little kawaii character. I'll get a little bit more in depth with like how to make these little hairs and more sculpting workflows and stuff like that. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Hopefully this presentation's got you a little bit more less intimidating by sculpting in ZBrush, and you'll make a kawaii character yourself. Thank you guys so much.
All right, everyone, EJ Hassenfratz. So we got time for like one or two questions. EJ will be right next door at our partner demo station over at Dell. So if you have any questions, he'll also be able to answer them there, just in case you're a little too shy to ask it in front of the internet. So please dive in. Questions. Yeah, we got a question right here. Amy, go ahead.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
So the question was, can you summarize your workflow from ZBrush to 3D printing? Is that correct? All right.
Yeah, so I mean, you can literally just like get your, so here, let me show you the final version. So I actually have...
Does she get a pug, by the way?
She gets a pug.
She gets a pug.
Everybody gets a pug.
No, don't say that.
Oh, no. I only have so many pugs. Pugs were a hit. People were just coming up and stealing them without me knowing. For my presentation, it's all right, I'll print out more. But really, all you really got to do is, I mean, there's ways to like, you know, merge everything together, which I'll show. But for what I use, and I highly, highly recommend, usually at NEB, we actually had this printer here, but it's called a Bamboo Handy, BAMBU. And it is an awesome filament printer. I just got one a few months ago. Super affordable, I think like $600. And literally the slicing software that they use uses like a straight up FBX or STL file from ZBrush. So if you go to File, I think it's Save As. Let's see. Edit. I forget what the export tool is. Does it go Z? Export tool. Oh, export right here. So you export, and the slicer software I use uses OBJ. There's STL, and so that's literally what I'll do. And with the slicer software that Bamboo uses, even if it's a super highly dense mesh like this, the software itself will actually decimate it for you. And so you can actually, you really don't even have to do any prep in this. It's like, I love the printer. I'm a dummy, and it's like super easy for me to operate. So it's just great. Like there's really not a lot of stuff you got to do. Like I know some printers has a lot of hoops you got to run through and stuff like that, but I really love the Bamboo Handy printer for sure.
Veronica?
Yes.
So the question was, how do you achieve that polished look when you're moving the mesh around and everything to get it pretty much uniform all around?
Yeah, so that's where you really go in, and we have like Scott is going to be presenting some workflow stuff, way more detailed sculpts and stuff like that. But there's different like workflows and things to do. So remember how I was showing the subdivide, and again, it's like almost like you have your low poly mesh in Cinema 4D, and you're like, let me add more detail. I'm going to throw it in a subsurface object, and you can kind of up the subdivision like very procedurally and parametrically in it. And this is the same thing, because if I hit Shift F, you can see that I subdivided this 4 times, but I can go low and go to this like lower subdivision level. And this is where, again, I showed that deformation thing with the polish. I can polish the heck out of this. And this, when you smooth anything at a low poly level, it's really gonna smooth things out. And that's why I always say, like, you wanna build stuff procedurally, sure. Because then I can smooth things out like this, but I can go up and then go back to, up to that higher subdivision level, and then start doing like my creases again. That is gonna do like very, where's my damn standard? There's my damn thing. So this is at this high subdivision level. That's where I can do more of these finer sculpts, but it's really a thing where it's like, you don't want to go and do something like, oh, let me get the move tool here, and let me go and do stuff like this, and like, whoops, this is a little lumpy back here. And then, because when you're trying to smooth at a high subdivision level, like I'm trying to smooth right now, but it's not working. So that's when you go back to the lower subdivision and smooth that out, and that's how you get rid of all your lumps. But it's using that workflow of always having that lower subdivision level and then cranking it up, doing the details, going low, smoothing things out, and then just having that flexibility. Because the great thing is every single object here has its own undo level here, which is super cool. Because like, if you're used to working in Cinema 4D, you're like, you never want to commit to a change. You want everything to be procedural. And here it's super cool because now I can go back undo levels for this arm, and I can go to undo levels on just this head. In other apps, like, you're undoing every single thing you did. So it's like, oops, I made a lump here on the arm, but like I did a bunch of changes to the head. Like, you'd have to undo all the head changes first, and so you can even see like my progression of how I modeled the head here and made the little hairs and stuff. So it's a really forgiving app to be able to do whatever you want. And even remeshing, like I'll show that Thursday, is super great with using the Z remesher, which is the exact same Z remesher in Cinema 4D. So it's a lot of parallels to like modeling and using Z remesher and subdivision surface and all that stuff in Cinema.
I got one more question for Michael. Great question, Veronica. Last question.
Could there be a light version of
Question
Oh, so
is-
there is. So the question is if there's going to be a light version for the iPad. That's above my pay grade and my position here. But I will say there is a free version of the ZBrush desktop that's called ZBrush Core Mini that has like the limited set of brushes. Like you can get in there and like right now, like for free, and get in and start playing around. You could probably follow along with a lot of stuff that I did because it doesn't have all the brushes. But again, I used 5 brushes and I used maybe 6 brushes total for this entire sculpt. So yeah, definitely check that out. But if you have a Maxon subscription, guess what? You have it anyways. And so it's kind of why I started using ZBrush to begin with. It's like, well, I got it. Yeah, I got in my Maxon 1, so.
Awesome. Let's give EJ another round of applause.
Thank
He
you guys
will
so
be
much.
there for the next hour, like I said, at our Dell partner station. So ask him some more questions. Stay tuned. We're going to get our next presenter up and running, which will be Sean Astrom. You're going to want to stay tuned for this one.
Come get stickers and prints.
Come get
Come get
got it,
swag. You